What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. We're going to be talking about the 2016 film, The Autopsy of Jane Doe. The film follows a father and son who work in a mortuary. Everything is going nice and normal. They're having a wonderful night. Everything is going great. That is until they receive a body that was found in prime condition in a crime scene. No cuts, no bruises. They don't know exactly what's going on with this body. It was just fully intact in the dirt. So now they are trying to investigate exactly who this person is because they don't have any name. Therefore, she is a Jane Doe. And as they uncover this body, things go a little bit bump in the night. I think this was my first time watching this movie in quite a while. I remember watching it once, and whenever it comes to VOD movies, there are some VOD movies that are meant to be just throwaway movies that really don't leave a long-standing impression. And for some reason, this movie to me has always left that kind of an impression. There are a lot of things wrong with horror movies nowadays because a lot of horror films nowadays feel like they need to have a loud bang in order for it to be jump scares. Some movies just infuse a lot of gore and think that is horror. For me, I am personally a gore hound, and I do love it whenever there is a horror movie that has gore just because of the type of movie it is. When it comes down to The Autopsy of Jane Doe, the film is directed by Andre Ordeval. He went on to direct Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark back in 2019, and he absolutely knocked it out of the park because this movie is relying so much on its tension because you have this body that nobody knows exactly how it got where it was because there are no bruises, there are no marks on it. Where they found it, there was no forced entry, so they really don't know exactly what's going on with this body. And to a certain point, you can look at it as a murder mystery kind of film, and as they start to peel the layers quite literally off of this body, you start to get a little bit more of the answers. And what I really loved about this movie is the fact that it's relying so much on the tension. It uses the morgue setting to its advantage because to me there are two scariest places that I don't want to be at night. One of them is the graveyard, and the other one is a mortuary because things can go bump in the night. And if you had to pay me millions of dollars to be at either one of those, I'd rather be in a graveyard because I feel like that would be the least scariest. But just the way that they use the mortuary settings to really add that creepy factor, it does get you invested in exactly. You try to figure out what's going on with this body, who this Jane Doe is, and exactly what she was doing at the place that she was found. And Emile Hirsch and Brian Cox are great as father and son. This movie reminded me how much I kind of missed seeing Emile Hirsch on screen. There was a long period of time in my childhood that I used to see Emile Hirsch pretty much everywhere. I think it was so much a little bit more that they tried to put him as a lead, and maybe a lot of people didn't really find him more appealing as a lead actor, more of a supporting actor. And I think this is his best performance that I've seen since probably Into the Wild or Alpha Dog. Brian Cox and Emile Hirsch are great as father and son, and the thing about this movie is not just about tension. It's not just trying to figure out exactly who this Jane Doe is. It's the relationship between Brian Cox and Emile Hirsch that gets you invested in the entire film because they are trying to get you emotionally invested in these characters, and I think they do a really good job of getting you hooked onto these characters, so that way when things go bump in the night, you do feel for them when there is peril around them. And the one thing that I really love about this movie is how much this whole situation really fucks with them, because it does put you in these characters' mindsets and puts you in their place and trying to figure out exactly how we're going to be getting out of here. The thing that really stood out about this movie is how much of this movie is pretty much locked into their heads, and to a certain point it does messes with their heads to the point where it's almost a fucked up incident that they are put in. Once it starts ripping your heart out quite literally, that is when you start getting emotionally invested. And there are layers to this movie that I really enjoyed, especially once we start peeling back exactly who this Jane Doe is and what this whole situation is going on. It's hard to find a movie that has a concept like this that just knows when to nail the ending. The thing that floored me about this movie is that it doesn't have a happy ending. The ending of this movie is messed up in so many ways that I kind of love and respect that, because it's easy for this movie to end on a happier note and end on a positive note. But no, this movie has the balls to end on a really depressing note, a note that I quite frankly had forgotten in quite a while. And that's one thing that I love about this movie is the fact that you do care about the characters, you do care about the situation, and you care about the mystery going on. You kind of forget exactly how masterful every other piece of this movie really is. Is this a movie that changed the supernatural genre? Absolutely not. It's a movie that's been there, done that. It does kind of put a nice twist on the supernatural genre, so it can be a little bit more refreshing and a little bit more open. And that's one thing that I love about this movie is the fact that you are able to get into this movie. And if you haven't seen it, this is a perfect movie for the spooky season because it has everything that you would love in a horror movie that doesn't rely too much on loud bangs and the practical effects on this body. It is a human body, and the actress whose name I'm stumbling on right now, she was great. She had the easiest job. Just lay down and pretend to be dead while all the prosthetics was coming out of her. The way that they used her and the fact that she pretty much nailed the role is really outstanding. And as far as unique horror films, I think this movie nails it on every single front. It has the nice settings, the great tension, emotional attachment to these characters so that when things go bump in the night, you do actually care about them. And overall, this is a movie that I would recommend you guys check out because it doesn't get the love that it deserves. And I do feel like this is a movie that I should watch more often because it really is nice. The cinematography is absolutely beautiful. But those are my thoughts on the autopsy of Jane Doe. Have you guys checked it out? Is this a movie that you love, or is this a movie that just didn't work for you? Drop those thoughts in the comments below and let me know, what do you think is the scariest place on earth?